Forklift trucks are essential in many industries, but can be very dangerous if not used properly. In fact, lift trucks are involved in roughly a quarter of all workplace transport accidents in the UK. Most incidents happen due to poor supervision or lack of proper training. To prevent injuries or fatalities, UK law requires that anyone operating a forklift be properly trained and authorised. Driving a forklift without the correct training license can even lead to legal action and heavy fines for both the operator and employer. This 10-minute guide will cover the fundamental safety practices, UK regulatory requirements, and general work guidelines for novice forklift operators. By the end, you should understand how to operate a forklift truck safely and be ready to answer some knowledge check questions. Forklifts come in various types and sizes, each suited to different tasks. It's important to know what type you will operate, as handling characteristics can differ. Here are some common forklift truck types. Industrial counterbalance. Forklifts. The most common forklift with front-facing dual forks and a weight at the back to counterbalance loads. Often used in warehouses or yards on stable surfaces, three-wheel versions offer tight maneuvering in narrow aisles. Industrial reach trucks, high lift trucks designed for narrow aisles and high racking storage. They have an extendable mast for reaching deep into racks. Variants include stand-up, double-deep and straddle reach trucks. Rough terrain forklifts, heavily built forklifts with robust tires and powerful engines for outdoor uneven ground. They provide stability on construction sites or farms with high ground clearance and a strong counterbalance for heavy loads. Side loader forklifts, specialized for long or wide loads like lumber or pipes. The forks are mounted on the side of the truck, allowing it to travel down narrow aisles while carrying long materials safely alongside the machine. Telescopic handlers, telehandlers. Versatile machines with a telescoping boom arm. They can function like small cranes, extending forward and upward. Common in construction and agriculture, telehandlers use various attachments, buckets, pallet forks, etc., and outriggers for extra stability at height. Pedestrian-operated pallet trucks, low-level forklifts, often walk behind or ride on, used mainly for moving pallets in warehouses. Some can lift pallets just enough for stacking, but generally they transport loads at ground level. Each type of truck has its own training category. Never operate a type of forklift you are not trained on, as even experienced operators need additional training when switching to a different truck or using special attachments. Operating a forklift in the UK is subject to strict health and safety regulations. Employers and operators must adhere to these key laws and standards, health and safety at work, etc. Act 1974. This primary law requires employers to ensure the health, safety and welfare of employees and visitors. For forklift operations, it means providing safe equipment, proper training and a safe work environment. Employers with 5+ staff must also have a written safety policy. Provision and use of work equipment regulations. PURE, 1998. PURE mandates that work equipment, including forklifts, is suitable for its purpose, maintained in safe condition and used only by trained people. Employers must keep equipment in good repair with maintenance records and ensure safety devices like brakes, lights, horns work correctly. It also requires adequate visibility and lighting so operators can use forklifts safely. Lifting operations and lifting equipment regulations, LOLA, 1998. LOLA focuses on lifting equipment safety. Every lifting operation with a forklift must be properly planned and supervised by a competent person, and forklifts must be clearly marked with their safe working load capacity. Under LOLA, forklifts and lifting attachments must undergo a thorough examination at least every 12 months, like an MOT for lifting parts to ensure they remain safe. Using a forklift beyond its rated capacity or with an uninspected lifting attachment is against regulations. Approved Code of Practice. L117 Rider-Operated Lift Trucks. This HSE code, ACOP L117, is official guidance on forklift training and safe use. It sets the minimum standard of basic training operators must receive before they are allowed to drive a lift truck. The ACOP covers the training stages, basic, specific job, familiarization, and gives practical guidance for safe forklift operations, including protecting pedestrians and performing maintenance. While not law itself, following L117's guidance is typically deemed sufficient to comply with legal obligations. Employers should ensure any forklift drivers they employ are trained to the standards of ACOP L117. Training is often delivered via accredited schemes like RTITB, ITSA, etc., though accreditation is voluntary. Bottom line, you must be formally trained, tested, and authorized by your employer to operate a forklift in the UK. It's illegal to just hop on a forklift without training. Doing so can result in penalties and, more importantly, high risk of accidents. Always carry proof of your training, such as a certificate, and follow your company's safety rules, which are based on these laws. Before driving a forklift at the start of any shift or when taking over a truck, perform a thorough pre-use inspection. This is a critical step to catch any faults that could cause accidents or damage. Always do the following checks with the forklift parked and turned off. Fluid levels. Check engine oil, coolant, and hydraulic fluid levels are within the proper range. Low fluids can lead to malfunctions or damage. Leaks or damage. Walk around the truck and look for any leaks. For example, hydraulic oil on the ground, cracks, or visible damage to parts like the mast, cylinders, chains, or tires. Ensure wheels, tires are in good condition and properly inflated if pneumatic. Controls and brakes. Test the brakes, steering and parking brake, and ensure all control levers, pedals and the horn are functioning correctly. Also verify that lights, warning alarms and reversing beepers, if fitted, are working. Safety devices. Make sure the seatbelt or operator restraint is in good condition and clicks securely. Check any other safety features like overhead guard, mirrors, load backrest, etc. are intact and not loose. Adjust your seat and mirrors to suit you before operating. If any issue is found during these checks, for example, faulty brakes or a leaking hose, do not use the forklift. Tag it out of service and report it so repairs can be made. Driving a defective lift truck, even for a short task, can lead to serious accidents. Remember, a quick daily inspection can save lives. Once you've ensured the forklift is in good condition, you must operate it responsibly at all times. The following safe operating practices cover the key aspects of driving a forklift truck and handling loads in a workplace. Always stay alert and use common sense in addition to these rules. Wear your seatbelt restraint. Always buckle the seatbelt or lap bar if the forklift has one. This keeps you within the protective cage of the forklift in case of a tip over. Never operate the truck if the seatbelt is missing or not working. Look around and go slow. Before moving, look all around for pedestrians, obstacles or other vehicles. Drive at a safe, sensible speed appropriate for the workplace conditions and load. Slow down at corners, doorways, intersections and any blind spots. Use the horn to warn others if your view is obstructed. Avoid sudden acceleration, hard braking or quick turns, as these can cause the forklift to tip or the load to shift. Keep forks low while traveling. Carry loads with the forks just 100 to 150 mm, a few inches off the ground. Keeping the load low improves stability by lowering the center of gravity. Traveling with elevated forks is dangerous. It raises the truck's center of gravity and can lead to a tip over, especially on turns. Always look in the direction of travel. If a large load obstructs your forward view, drive in reverse carefully or have a spotter guide you rather than driving forward blind. Stay focused, avoid distractions. Never use a mobile phone or headphones or engage in any distracting activity while operating a forklift. Similarly, never operate a forklift under the influence of alcohol or drugs, or if you are extremely fatigued or ill. Your full attention must be on driving. If you need to communicate or check something, stop the forklift in a safe place first. No unauthorized riders. Do not allow anyone to ride on your forklift unless it has a dedicated passenger seat and the person is authorized. Forklifts are one-person machines. Extra riders, especially on the forks or standing on the side, are strictly prohibited. Inspect the load before lifting. Make sure loads are on sound pallets or supports stacked stably and won't shift. Never move a load that looks unstable or unsafe. For example, a poorly balanced stack or a pallet with broken boards. Adjust or restack the load if needed or get assistance. Position the forks properly. Approach the load squarely and center the forks as wide as possible under the load. Drive fully under the load until it touches the carriage or backrest. Tilt the mast back slightly to secure the load before lifting and traveling, which helps prevent the load from sliding off. Travel carefully with loads. Keep the mast tilted back slightly while carrying a load to keep it stable, and as noted, carry the load low to the ground. Do not travel with a raised load, always lower it to travel height before moving. If the load is tall and blocks your view, drive in reverse instead of forward, except going up ramps, see below. Use a spotter if needed to guide you in tight spaces or when placing loads up high. Never exceed the forklift's limits. If using special attachments like clamps, jibs, or extensions for unusual loads, ensure you are trained in their use and that the attachment is securely locked in place. Attachments alter the weight and balance of the forklift, effectively reducing its lifting capacity. Use only attachments that have been approved for your truck and make sure a qualified person has updated the forklift's capacity rating when using them. Always follow the attachment manufacturer's instructions, lowering and stacking. When stacking or depositing a load, do so slowly and carefully. Align the load correctly over the stack or rack, then lower the load at a safe, controlled speed. Make sure no one is beside or under the pallet. Once placed, tilt the forks forward slightly if needed to disengage, then back out smoothly. Never pull out the forks abruptly, as the load or stack could become unstable. Operating on ramps and slopes, extra caution is needed on inclines, as forklifts can tip over more easily on a slope if handled incorrectly. Always follow these rules on ramps or grades. Keep the load uphill. When carrying a load on a slope, the load should always point uphill for stability. That means if you are driving up a ramp with a load, drive forward up the slope, forks up grade. If you are coming down a ramp with a load, you should reverse down the ramp so that the load stays uphill. Again, forks pointing up the slope. In other words, drive in reverse down a ramp with a load to keep the heavy load uphill and avoid it sliding off or pulling the forklift forward. The opposite applies if the forks are empty. Travel forward down a slope with no load, since the forks should face downhill when unloaded. Go slow and straight. Always drive slowly and directly up or down the slope, never at an angle. Use a low gear and do not change direction or gear on the slope. Never attempt to turn the forklift on a ramp or sideways across a slope. Turning on a slope almost guarantees a tip over because of lateral instability. No parking on slopes. Plan ahead so you don't have to park on an incline. Never leave a forklift stopped on a slope unless it's an emergency. If an emergency occurs, for example, the forklift stalls on a ramp, fully lower the forks, turn the wheels into the curb, if present, and chock the wheels to prevent movement, then get assistance. Always try to park on level ground. Forklifts must be operated in a way that keeps other people safe at all times. Remember, pedestrians are often the ones hurt in forklift accidents. Follow these safety points regarding people. Never lift people with forks. Absolutely never allow anyone to ride on the forks or on a pallet lifted by a forklift. The only exception for lifting people is if you have a proper, secure work platform attachment, man basket, designed to be lifted by a forklift. And even then, it should be for short-term tasks with proper precautions. If using a safety cage or platform, ensure it is an approved attachment. The person inside is trained and wearing full protection if required, and you follow a safe work method. No extra passengers. Do not carry passengers on your forklift unless the forklift has a built-in extra seat and the passenger is authorized. Most forklifts are one-seater. Never let anyone sit or stand on any part of the forklift, steps, counterweight, etc., while it's moving. Keep people clear of the lift truck. Always be aware of pedestrians in your work area. If possible, segregate forklift routes from pedestrian walkways with barriers or markings. As an operator, slow down and use your horn when approaching any area where people might be present, for example, blind corners, doorways. Make eye contact with pedestrians or use signals to ensure they know you're there. Never allow anyone to walk or stand under raised forks or loads, even if the forklift is stopped. Also, do not drive close to anyone. Maintain a safe distance and be prepared to stop. Loading/unloading with others. If someone is assisting you with loading or guiding, ensure you can see them at all times and they stay clear of the forklift's path. Never pick up a load if someone is standing near it. Instruct them to move back. Likewise, when placing a load, ensure no one is on the opposite side of a rack or truck bed where they could get hit or trapped. Good communication is key. Use agreed signals or a radio. When you finish using the forklift or need to leave it, even briefly, you must secure it properly to prevent unintended movement or unauthorized use. Follow these shutdown steps every time. Park on level ground. Always find a level, designated parking area for the forklift. Never leave a forklift parked on an incline or where it could be knocked or roll. If you must stop on a slope in an emergency, remember to chock the wheels. Forks lowered and tilted down. Before shutting off, lower the forks fully to the floor so that the tips of the forks touch the ground. It's best to also tilt the mast forward slightly so the forks are flat on the ground. This helps prevent tripping hazards and releases tension in the mast chains. Neutral and brake on. Shift the gear to neutral and apply the parking brake. This will keep the truck from moving. Never rely on hydraulics, like a raised fork, to hold the truck in place. Always use the brake and lower the forks. Turn off and secure keys. Turn off the ignition or shut down the power for electric trucks and remove the key. This prevents anyone else, especially an untrained person, from accidentally starting or using the forklift. Store the key or access card in its designated safe place. Many sites have a key control system for forklifts. Refuel or recharge if needed. If the forklift uses fuel, diesel, gas, LPG, and is low, follow proper refueling procedures in the safe, designated area with the engine off. If it's electric and near the end of shift, plug it into the charger. Always use the correct personal protective equipment, PPE, for handling fuel or batteries, gloves, eye protection, etc. Finally, do a quick post-use check if you noticed any issues during operation, odd noises, warning lights, etc. Report them so the forklift can be inspected before next use. Good housekeeping is part of safe practice. Leave the forklift and area tidy, for example. Don't leave the forks sticking out into an aisle. A well-parked, secured forklift helps ensure it won't become a hazard when not in use.